All right, welcome everybody. We've got a little cleanup stuff we want to do. We get the honor to award and recognize a young lady today. We missed her, but we're excited to have her here. She's got some family here. She's got her competition here, who, it's kind of neat that your rivalry is your brother, and I guess they fight, and they went back and forth. But today, we've got Miss Layan Madat from Green Elementary, who is a science fair winner. Yeah, she had a. Tell us what your science fair project was?
Paper towels.
Paper towels, and you said it was a physics project, right? Amazing. So let me give you this. Yeah, right here. I'll hand you that. With that concluded, I'd like to call our order the meeting of our school board of trustees of Princeton Independent School District for April 20th, 2020. Oh, that's not it. That's okay. For June 15th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. On behalf of the Princeton ISD School Board and the Superintendent, Donna McIntyre, I would like to welcome you all. The subjects to be discussed, considered, upon which any formal action may be taken are listed on the agenda posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown in the meeting notice unless removed from the consent agenda. Items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. We will now move on to item number 2. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, Ms. Sharp, would you please lead us for the work we're about to do?
Thank you, sir. If you guys would please bow with me. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight with grateful hearts, thanking you for the opportunity to serve our students, the staff, the families, and all of our Princeton community. We ask for wisdom as we consider the matters that are set before us and guidance as we make decisions that will impact the future of our district. Help us to listen respectfully to one another, lead with integrity, and remain focused on what's best for our students. And give us the patience during difficult discussions, humility in our leadership, and unity in our purpose. Bless our teachers, administrators, support staff, parents, and especially our students as they continue to learn, to grow, and thrive. It's in your darling son's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, we'll move on to public comments. I believe we have one person, any person wishing to address the board during this period is reserved for public comments. At the board meeting must sign up beforehand in accordance with district policy BED local. The board is authorized to make reasonable limitations and regulations governing the public comments. As such, the board will allow 3 minutes for all speakers if there is less than 10 speakers. If the number of participants exceeds 10 speakers, then each participant will receive 2 minutes to speak. The board will discuss agenda items in the meeting during consideration. The board is not permitted to discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted in the agendas for tonight's meeting. The board has adopted complaint policy that are designed to secure at the lowest possible administrative level a prompt and equitable resolution of complaints and concerns. Each of the processes provides that if the resolution cannot be achieved administratively, the person may appeal it to the administrative decision to the board as properly posted agenda item. For further information on those policies, contact the administration's office at 469-952-5400 or our website at www.princetonisd.net. All right, I believe Ms. Charlotte Wilson.
Okay, can you hear me? All right. My name is Charlotte Wilson. I'm a Princeton parent, former teacher in this district, also in other districts. First, I have a request as a parent on behalf of my oldest daughter, who has been asking me every day for her STAR scores because her friends in other districts already have theirs. She's anxious, confused, and wondering why I can't show her hers yet. Unfortunately, Princeton still doesn't make those results available directly in our parent portal, Infinite Campus, like many other districts do. I know the state assessment site releases detailed reports tomorrow. However, other districts already released it onto their Infinite Campus, Skyward, Power School, etc. If we streamline that process and put it together, less clicks is better. Has the district explored making STAR and TELPAS results available directly through Infinite Campus so families can access them alongside grades and attendance in one single location? It would certainly help me calm the nerves of one very determined teenager who is convinced her future depends on seeing those 4 master scores. Speaking of planning for the future, I'd like to address item number 10 on the agenda. As Princeton enters this planning phase of LIFT, I hope we will be intentional about building a system that supports teachers and students and not one that strokes fear. I have worked in a district with constant walkthroughs. The hardest part wasn't the visit itself, it was the times we never heard anything afterwards, which creates anxiety. Now I want to be clear, I support walkthroughs when they're done well. In fact, some of the best professional growth I experienced as a teacher came from walkthroughs in my first years of teaching and a PLC structure that aligned. That helped me become the teacher I am today. A key difference was a timely feedback. After a lesson, I might find a sticky note on my desk, an email, I might see a conversation in the hall with an observer, and it was just a simple way of saying, I saw you and I saw your students. That matters. Teachers don't want to feel like a study. They want to feel like professionals. If someone takes the time to enter a classroom, 5, 6 adults, observe the students, and collect information, there needs to be a guaranteed feedback loop with any gaps addressed in PLCs. Coaching is most effective when it comes from someone who can not only identify strong instruction, but also can step into the classroom and model that same instruction. I also hope we remember that a classroom observation is only one snapshot of one moment of one day for that classroom. Different teaching styles will matter, relationships matter, data points matter. We must be careful not to shift the focus from authentic teaching and learning to putting on a performance for the adults walking through our classrooms. Now, many students, especially introverted and shy students, students with disabilities, and students who are still building confidence in English will not perform the same way when unfamiliar adults are in the classroom. The trust is built with the teacher, not with the observers. Now, as we move forward with LIFT, my hope is that we build a process based on real support and communication and trust, because if teachers feel supported, students feel safe, and Princeton will thrive. Thank you.
We'll move on to Item number 5, information items and reports.
Yes, it did. Good evening, Colton Barnes with Claycomb Architects here with construction update for June. Starting with the middle school, here's an updated drone shot of the exterior. We're getting very close to having everything buttoned up. Final clean is underway. The CM is also working on the few minor punch items during the during the owner architect punch. Teacher move-in is allowed once the CO is issued. That has actually had some positive information since this was released last week. The fire marshal has released us to go ahead and allow teachers to move in, even though we don't have a full CO for public occupancy. This one, as well as the elementary, have a expected 7-1 owner turnover. So this will be the last month that these two schools will be within the construction update.
Any questions, concerns?
Carol, also an exterior update here. Something that isn't noted here that is complete is the fire lane striping and the parking striping that is in as well. So with some interior update photos here, and it's pretty much in the same state as the middle school. It's final punch items that are being addressed, the final clean, and getting teachers moved in with that 7-1 turnover. Abbott seeing some progress here. They are finished with the first pour of the ICF at the storm shelter. The Area A classroom slab continues. It will be Area A and then one more pour for Abbott here. And structural steel install has begun. That is the cafeteria area that you see there in the lower left. And then over to Tally, slightly ahead. They were completing their final slab pour last week, but the ICF, they're in the same, they're a little bit ahead on the ICF as well with one pour ahead, and then steel is roughly at the same point. Again, starting in the cafeteria there with the lower left picture.
Going back to Bunchbach, it's really loud there. Going back to Bunchbach, have they started pouring that road, the developer in the back yet?
The last I heard is they had it formed and they were going to be pouring this week.
Is it going to connect to Cypress Bend? Is that what you're talking about?
Correct. And that's the holdup at the moment for us to get a final full CO, is we have to have that back entrance into the rear of the school. So, but that's the developer that is pouring that road, correct?
Does that connect all the way to 500 through there? Because I'm concerned there'll be lots of traffic going through there as soon as we open it up. 'Cause I think it does, but I guess 500 doesn't go across to, it doesn't go, it's cut off, yeah, okay. Okay.
Anything else?
Any more questions, concerns?
All right,
Thanks, sir.
thank you.
I'll move over to item number 6, consent agenda. Or do we want to go over board training? Yeah, let's go ahead.
I'd like to pull the purchase orders.
Oh, hold on, we need to go back
still
to
got
jump.
board training.
So just to nominate, or to let everybody know, let the public know, the board, a majority of the board went to training this last week and received some more credits. Right now, all board members are up to date on their current training requirements for the year. We do have some new ones that have to be done by August, so I think those have been sent out to Amy for anything that you need to have by the start of school. So there we go. We will need to schedule a team of 8 training soon. And so one of the options that we could do is we could do an ISO training, which is evaluating student outcomes. That's what we have used in the past as our team of 8 training. And so that would be one of the options we could look at if that's something the board would like to do. If so, we could have somebody from multiple sources provide that training. TEA, TASB, or Region 10 all have trainers that'd be willing to come out and do that training for us.
Does it have to be the ISO training?
No, it doesn't. It's just one of those that we have to do ISO training every other year anyways. And so, and it's one of the few trainings that it can count as your team of 8 training. We could do our team of 8 training to do something else, but some of us would still need ISO training this year.
Do we know who needs it this year?
You should know because it was on your sheets that was given to you
Okay.
on when you completed it last. I can have that and I can send out a list on it. I know when I was talking to, for another agenda item that we're going to talk about later, the Lone Star governance individuals, they were talking about that the ISO training this year is different and it's got some added pieces that they haven't done in the past. And so she was talking highly of that, saying that it was definitely something that would be worth the board doing again sooner rather than later.
Thing like with governance with them, would that count as team of 8 if we've got enough people who have their ISO?
I do not know that. So I would have to get a list of options available. If that's not what you're wanting to do, I can get those and send those out. What are the trainings that can count as that team of 8 training and send that out? TASA is the Lone Star governance. That would count for that team of 8 training and then send those out to y'all and then we'd have an option list to kind of shop from.
Yes.
Okay, will do.
I think we'll update.
This was put on there prior to us having the final information. So as we've talked, we've had Region 10 come out and conduct a evaluation of our current bilingual program. They've given us that preliminary, that package was released today. We will be hosting a special meeting on Thursday that will be Region 10 coming out to present their findings from that. And so that's released. You have the packet released in your board book so that you can start reviewing that now.
Confirmation, what time is that one on Thursday, at 6 or
6:30. We were originally trying for 6, but Carlos doesn't get off work till 6, so that was going to make it a little tight. So 6:30 normal time.
So maybe we should bring the chief in here with Carlos, and then he can call it work.
There we go.
I would disagree.
6:30.
6:30 on Thursday, that is correct.
Move on to item 6, consent agenda.
There's one PO that I have a question about, so we have to pull that.
I don't have anything that I want to pull, but I'm curious about, are we seeing an uptick in turnover?
Have we done a comparison of percentage-wise? I don't have that off the top of my head, no. I can get that to you where we're at this point this year compared to this point last year as a percentage.
I know we added that column, which I really appreciate, where they're turning in their exit surveys and we can kind of have an idea of why. Is there any sort of data that we collect from these surveys that could give us more information? Like, do we do anything besides read the surveys? The
Yes,
exit.
internally, we go through the surveys. Jackie is putting those into a spreadsheet right now where we're looking for commonalities, looking for things that are concerning, if we see trends that we need to address, and those kind of things. Yes, we've done that. Actually, today, I got the first run of the electronic version of this that we'll be using next year, which will be everything a little bit more easy access and easy to share, even with, so you guys can see those immediately and be able to see those and look for those yourself and see if you see any trends that we may be missing. So we got our sample version of that today. It seems to be working. Our problem was we were needing to get an individual copy of the surveys that we put into their file, but we also was trying to get a cumulative total of things that was easy to read. But Katie in our communications department was able to come through with a great thing today. She's been working on it for a while, and it looks really good.
Do we know how to pull that or no? Okay.
POs?
Yes, one specific one if you want to do that, or just pull the whole thing.
Just pull them
For
all.
the whole thing, yeah. I'll entertain a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda items.
I'll make a motion to approve the remaining items.
A motion, Ms. Sharp,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Darling. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously.
Casey, do we have anybody here to introduce tonight? All right. So purchase orders over 50 then?
Go ahead, Dwayne.
So my concern was on the lighting for the high school for the theater. I was concerned that this almost 300,000 was brought to us in this format, and why wasn't it, or could we have included it in the wish list? I know you and I, Mac, talked about this a little bit, but just wanted to have an open discussion as to maybe our thinking and how we could do this differently in the future.
Yeah, and this is one of those things that was definitely not a planned expense, so that's why it wasn't in last year's budget. You know, we didn't plan for the lights to stop working in the theater. Those lights have been in there since 2004, and then we've just slowly had more and more of them go out, and we've been trying to replace and upkeep, but the cost to continually replace the lights that are burning out was getting too exorbitant for us to continue at that path, and we believe the smart move is to make a replacement of the system, which is upgrading to LED lights versus the old school lights that was in there, but that does mean we needed control boards and those kind of things to operate those. But this wasn't something that was going out at the point we were doing the budget last year, and so it didn't get put into last year's budget. And we didn't put it in the administrative wish list items for next year because we needed to get it done this summer. And so we had the funds in our local construction to pay for that, and so we believe that it's prudent to keep those facilities up and running and usable.
So, what you're telling me is that, we've been replacing bulbs quite a bit over the last year or last few years.
James here, or no? Yeah, I couldn't tell you how long it's been going. I know that they've been saying the light bulbs have been going out.
Okay, so what I'm getting to is I think we did have a heads up that something was going on, that we need to deal with it maybe less than just a few months ago. So, or maybe this is 6 months in the working, I don't know what it is, but I would have liked to seen this budgeted item or something that we didn't get a surprise of $300,000 on this budget. That's why I don't want to bring it out. I just want to.
I understand.
Do we have some other items that are going to be jumping out at us like this that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, this is like when your car breaks down. You don't plan on it. You may have even been doing some small repairs on your car, but then sometimes something major goes out on your car and you gotta fix it. If the transmission goes out, you gotta replace it. That's what this is.
Thank you.
How old is that system again?
2004, so 22 years.
Wow.
What's the lifespan for something like that normally?
22 years.
You don't know that? Hey, I think our theater department has been doing a great job,
They do an amazing job.
keeping up with the lights and stuff, but, yeah.
So we try to foresee these things the best we can and tell you, but our crystal ball is not always clear.
Any questions, concerns? Need a motion.
I do need a motion for the purchase orders.
We'll entertain a motion.
A motion that we approve the request for the funds for the lights.
Well, not just the lights, we need all the POs.
The purchase orders over 50,000 as presented. That's your
Would you
motion.
correct that?
So is your motion to approve the purchase orders over 50,000 as presented?
Sorry.
I got a motion from Ms. Darling. Second from Ms. Ledesma. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes. We'll We'll move on to item number 7, preliminary 2026-2027 budget.
Do you have your clicker?
I think Colton left it. So we're good.
That was nice of him.
It was very nice of him. I appreciate it. Good evening.
Evening.
Okay. Sorry, let me get a few things kind of in order here.
While she's doing that, I just want to remind everybody, that this is the preliminary first run, look at the budget. We will have another preliminary run at the July board meeting. We will not be taking a vote to approve any budgets or tax rates until the August board meeting, okay? So this is our first look, best on our best guess at this time. Sorry.
You're good.
Thank you.
So like Mr. McIntyre said, this is our first run, so it's preliminary. It's meetings with every budget manager in the district. It's looking at what they feel they need, what they feel their departments require in order for us to run the district for students and teachers and staff to be successful. So that's what I'm bringing to you this evening. But before we get into actual numbers, I want to make sure we're all kind of speaking the same language-ish when it comes to the numbers. Because in school budgeting, everything depends on the budget code that we're needing, okay? And so there's a few things I want to go over, and I'm going to start with revenue. I'm going to go over the object code. So basically, the object code tells you where your funding is coming from. So if it's an object code of 5710 to 5719, you're talking local tax dollars. Okay? So anything object code 5720 to 5769 are your other local revenues, basically services that we have rendered. You may find interest rates in there. So that's what we're looking at. Athletics, anytime people pay to get in, that's a revenue, that's a service we render. So 5810 to 5849, that's our state revenue. That's any money the state gives us. So our foundation school payment, which we'll talk about, tier 1, tier 2, anything TEA gives us as far as state funding goes. And then you've got your 5910 to 5959. Those are your federal dollars. So any federal program revenue that we get. Tonight's budget does not include federals at this time. I'm still waiting on some final numbers from the federal government. Federals, we have no say in the calculation of our revenue. The federal government gives us our revenue. And then we utilize that revenue, and I will tell you from a federal standpoint, and I will talk Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV in July. From federal standpoints, we try to put as much in payroll to offset payroll cost. That is our number one resource in this district, is our staff. Okay, so we try to offset cost as much as possible with federal. And then the other one is your 7915. I did that twice today practicing. Your 7915 are your other revenues, your transfers from fund to fund. Okay, so that's your object code revenue. And we are going to talk specifically about funds, specific funds. So the first 3 numbers in every budget code is a fund. Okay, so if you've had any kind of accounting background, governmental accounting is different than accounting. It just is. It's based on a fund. Okay, so we start with Fund 199. That's our general fund. It's red because you have to approve the general fund. So in August, when you approve the budget, you're approving any fund that's red on my slide. You have to by law. It's required. Okay. So we have general fund. You've got 211, which is your Title I Part A. It's also LASSO Cycle 3. The governments like to use the same fund code, which makes life very fun in my office when we put multiple grants in the same fund code. And those are given to us, by the way. Then you have 224, which is your IDEA-B for special education. Your 225, that's your IDEA-B pre-K. These are all federal. 240 is your food service. You have to approve our food service budget. It's a federally funded budget, but you have to approve it. 242 is our summer nutrition. You've got Carl Perkins at 244. Title II Part A, 255, Title III. I'm going to skip some of these because we don't have these this evening. I'm going to jump over to, let's talk 489. That's our daycare fund. That's a locally assigned code for us. It's a fund that we've assigned as 489 for our daycare. We track daycare expenses separate from general fund. Okay. And then 599 is debt service. That's when we sell bonds and we have to make bond payments. That comes out of 599. You have to approve that. 688 is local capital. So whenever we're doing projects out of local capital, local construction is another way we say that. That's 688. You also have to approve that budget. Our bonds, I've updated this. We are now currently working 696, 697, and we will sell 698 in August. So it's been updated on this fund chart for you. And then you have 753, which is our workers' comp. So we can pay it out of that fund. So that's the first 3 digits of our budget code. Those are important because you have to approve those. Then we go into function, our next 2 digits. So 11 is red. Not that you have to approve it on this slide. 11 is red because that's where the majority of our money should live, is in function 11. It is our purpose. Our purpose is to instruct students. So that's why it's red on here. Not that you have to approve that. You have to know that that's our #1 priority in this district. That is what we are here to do. So you've got 11 is instruction. 12, I put the technical title on there. You really could just call that library. It's the same thing, but it is our instructional resources and media services. 13 is curriculum and instructional development. That's where our PD for our staff should live. You've got instructional leadership in 21. That's leadership out of this building. You've got 23, which is school leadership. So that's any leadership sitting on a campus. And then you can see 31 is counseling, guidance, counseling, and evaluation services. You've got health services, so your nurses are out of 33. Transportation is 34, student transportation. Extracurricular in 36, that's athletics, fine arts, UIL. General administration is 41, that's the business of the school. Like I'm a function 41, it's what I do the business of the school. 51, facilities and maintenance and operation. You've got 52, your security and your monitoring. 53 is data. 61 is community service. 71 is debt service. 81 is facilities acquisition and construction. I am going to kind of stop there. Well, I'll go down to 99. We don't use 91, 93, and 95 unless we have to. Those are have-to functions. So I don't want to focus on those too hard. But then you've got 99, which is your other intergovernmental charges. Okay, and you'll see like the appraisal district come through there. Okay, so that's what you have to approve: fund and function. Okay, everything else in the thousands of budget code lines that my office kind of deals in and out of, that our budget managers deal in and out of, come from your approval of fund and function. Okay. The other piece are your expenditure object codes. We had revenue object codes that I just talked about. Now you have expenditure object codes. 61 is red because that's where the bulk of your money should be. Somewhere between 80 and 85% should live in payroll. Your #1 resource is your staff. Okay. Then you have your 6200s, professional and contracted services. It's work we need done that our people don't do. We have to pay a licensed or a certified somebody to do it. It supplements what we can do. Your 6300s, your supplies and your materials. 6400s, other operating costs, like celebrating our staff comes out of 6400. 6500s would be your debt service, and 6600s are your capital outlay, your $5,000 plus items, single items, like a bus or a tuba. I don't know if y'all know that, but a tuba is over $5,000. Okay, so that's kind of the language we're going to speak. Fund, function, and then object code. That's what we're really going to talk about. Okay, so let's talk about where our assumptions start, and we start with revenue. Okay, we start with the CAD, the Collin County Appraisal District, and we get what are our preliminary values. Okay, and then from there we look at what the demographer gives us, and then we can estimate our ADA. We can also project our enrollment. We can compare it to current enrollment. So here are some of our assumptions that we've made. Our average, so our ADA, average daily attendance that we budgeted on is 11,695 students. That's roughly a 92% ADA is what we're talking about. Meaning our kids 92% of the time will be in school, we will get funded, which is about an increase of 1,113 from our current year. Current enrollment is 11,741. Which we're projecting an enrollment of 12,712. So that's what we budgeted our enrollment number on, 12,712. Kindergartners, we have 1,032 incoming according to the demographer. We just graduated 645 seniors. So already, there's a lot of growth, okay? You can also see, this is kind of a really cool metric that has lived since Ms. Boitman did presentations. I really liked it, so I don't want to take it out. From 24-25 all the way to 26-27, that's what our student enrollment growth has looked like. So you can see that we are growing significantly every year. And then on the other side, once you get your students, right, you get your student count, your ADA, your enrollment, the next biggest part is your property values. What are you taxing on? So our prelim values are $5.5 billion. That is a 4.59% growth from last year. At this time last year, in this presentation, we were at a 21% growth. Okay, I just said 4.5. I said 21 last year. Our growth in taxable value, our prelim values, has slowed significantly, okay? Based on the data that I enter into, I have a revenue template that helps predict. The state uses it. Everybody, all CFOs in the state use it or some form of it. Our tax rate that right now is $1.20. Sorry, I don't know how to say that number, but it's 1.2011. Okay, so we're looking at about $1.20. Okay, which is, if I remember right, maybe a 1/6 of a penny decrease. Okay, so we are looking at raised prelim values and a tax rate decrease, very slight, but decrease. The M&O, so your maintenance and operation, that's how we run the district day to day, is about 70 cents. Your INS, that's how we pay debt, our bonds, we're at 50 cents. We're maxed out at INS, okay? New instructional facilities allotment, we're looking at about $1 million there. That has to do with Carroll and Bunchbach opening. So any student who attends Carroll and Bunchbach will produce some, I call it NIFA for short, new instructional facilities allotment. They'll produce a little extra revenue for us. And then any growth that we see at Perkins next year will produce extra revenue for us. Okay, so we're looking at about just about 1.1 million there. Okay, so those are our revenue assumptions that we're starting with. Looking at some trends, just as a district, our enrollment growth count. Okay, you can see from 22-23 all the way to 26-27, that line's growing pretty steadily. When you do your best fit line. Then you go to your taxable value growth, you can also start to see where we're leveling off in taxable value. Okay, and that is set by Collin County. That is not set by us as a school district. And then our starting teacher salary. You can see the board's dedication over the years to compensation for teachers, including the $2,000 increase for this year that's in this budget. Bond projects, this is a big part for what we're doing. It sounds like on July 1st, I can move Bunchbach and Carroll to the finished project section. But right now, we're not finished anywhere. We are still under construction. Bunchbach, Carroll, Abbott, and Tally are all going. Planning process, we're currently planning Anthony High School. Land purchases are always ongoing for a district like us. So that will probably live there, or that will live there for a while. And then we have a bond sale pending. We need to sell in August as much as we can to help put that high school on the ground, okay? July, it is my goal to have our financial advisor here to talk us through that. So Jeff and I have already begun to speak about that, so he will be here in July for us. Okay, so let's get into the actual budget itself. Let's talk about our revenues. So on the left, you will see 25-26. You'll see what was proposed in August. Okay, I cannot do a June to June comparison. June last year, the legislature was in session and all of the teacher retention allotment, the staff retention allotment, none of that money was given yet. So that presentation, if I compare June to June, is very skewed. So I'm gonna give you August to June, okay? So it's hard to talk about where we started last year because the state gave very specific pots of money. So overall, running this year's budget, we're looking at about $133 million, so $133.9 million in revenue for 25-26. Based on projections with the assumptions that I read to you, we're looking at $153.4 million in revenue from between local property taxes. So if you'll look at that first line, that's under $1 million increase in revenue from property taxes. Okay, with the 4.5% growth, we're not even projecting, I'm not projecting even $1 million growth there. okay? But then if you keep going, get into our state section, you'll see the 5812, our foundation payment, is going to grow from 83 million to about 99 million. So that's where the state is going to offset some of our lack of tax growth, is we're going to see a bigger growth in our state foundation payment. We also have federals on there. I have what I know from federals. I don't have them all yet, but as soon as I do, I'll get the bottom part of this chart filled in, so you'll see all of our revenue. Okay. And then this really is federals in 199, so I apologize, this is 199 federal, so it is all there. Yes, it's our impact aid. I apologize. I don't have our 200 yet. Okay. If I remember right, that's about, we're looking at about a $19.4 million revenue increase in 199. Okay. So now let's talk about where we're going to spend that money. Okay, remember I told you instruction is what we do. It is our main purpose. It should be the biggest piece of our pie. Unfortunately, my pie is not rounding correctly. It should round to 64%. It's got it at 63%. So we're looking at function 11, increasing from about $84.5 million to $98 million that we need to instruct our students, okay? And that's various areas. I'll let you look kind of through the chart. I do want to highlight right now our total expenditures, given all of the meetings I had with our budget managers, what our principals are budget managers, department heads are budget managers, what everyone is asking for, we're looking at $156.9 million in expenditures in 199 for 26-27. Okay, with 64% of that being instruction. The next biggest piece of our pie is in function 51, which is our maintenance and operations, maintaining those facilities, maintaining basically anything that breaks down or we need to run our facilities. Did I skip one? Sorry, I did not. Okay. So then if you break it down, so that was broken down by function. Now let's break it down by object code for expenditures, because I always want you to see instruction is the biggest piece of the pie in functions, but when it comes to object codes, payroll is always our biggest piece of the pie, and we're sitting right around 81% in payroll. Okay, so we're looking at an increase in payroll from $108.9 million to $125.5 million is the increase we're talking about in payroll cost across all of 199, all the functions. Excuse me. So if you track that on down, we're looking at $154.8 million, which is a $1.4 million deficit when you do revenues less expenditures. But we also have two transfers, the $1.8 million from M&O to INS that is considered necessary, and then we have our daycare transfer of about $334,000 to offset and run the daycare for our staff. So that's where I'm getting the total when I said $156.9 million for the total expenditures. It's what we're spending in 199 plus the two transfers, which puts us at a total deficit of 3.5 in the initial preliminary run of the budget in Fund 199. So if we keep going through the funds, that's your Fund 199 that you will have to approve in August. First run of 599, debt service. So this is how we pay for bonds. This one is not fully complete, and the reason is if you'll look at the expenditure chart and you go down to the Bond 26 series, I've got TBD. I don't know what that sale's gonna be. I don't know what that we're gonna have to do that. I do not know what expenditure is gonna live there yet based on what we're gonna need to sell and then support with 199, or 599, sorry. And then Once Jeff is able to talk to us in July, we're able to look at what Hold Harmless will do. He and I will continue to run my revenue template for the INS side, and then he will be able to help predict what Hold Harmless will be, and then we will get, here's how much we're gonna sell, and this is the expenditure impact to 599, so I can complete 599. But right now at our first run, our total revenue is $35.2 million is what we're looking at in revenue. And then expenditure-wise, right now, we've got $32.7 million in expenditures. But we need those two. We need expenditures to be less than revenue. That's what gives us the capacity to sell. Okay, so that should be there, because otherwise we don't have capacity to sell. 688, local capital projects. The only real revenue you have in 688 is the interest. But then, if there is a surplus and we commit funds from 199 fund balance into 688, that's how 688 grows, like the board committed funds this year. And so that does help fund 688 grow. But every year, we can consistently rely on the interest that bank account earns, and that's where that revenue projection is. Interest rates are down, which is why it's a little bit less for 26-27. And then the expenditures that have been asked for in 688, AC units, furniture, tech, et cetera, for Abbott and Tally. We did that this year. We moved that out of bond to help save bond capacity. So inside that 4.9, almost $5 million is all the startup furniture, technology, everything that Ms. Boitman and her team will need to put everything there in those schools, and then LHS portables, if those are needed. And then 240, this is our food service. So these are federal dollars. We do our very best to run a balanced budget. However, if we start going through revenue, right now, we are not showing that we will gain enough revenue to cover all expenditures, but we do have a fund balance in 240. So if you'll look at the fund balance line, so that top left chart, it says fund balance. We're looking at about $682,000 that we will need out of fund balance to balance our current expenditures for 240. Okay, so 240 does carry its own fund balance and can offset and help with those expenditures, so we don't use 199 funds for those. Okay. Right now, 240 is balanced, okay, for both the school year and for the summer. We've got both of those balanced. So some notable factors, we've got preliminary values are adjusting weekly. I get emails every Monday. They started out higher than our prelims were giving us, but as appeals are coming through, we're seeing those tick down. We've got a slight decrease in the M&O rate. Our bond sale is still coming. We've got continuation of construction projects. We've got the startup costs for Abbott Elementary and Tally Elementary in this budget. Plus, I haven't even talked about the fact we're opening 2 new campuses. So we're opening a new secondary campus, Bunchbach, and we're opening Carroll at the same time. That's in this budget. Yes, Carroll. And then the board has added 90+ teaching units. There's been additional support staffs. We've seen kind of a programmatic change with the Dean of Students at 10 of our campuses. We've got contracted salary increases and non-contracted salary increases. So all of these notable factors are living in this current budget that I am presenting. I believe that should be my last slide because it's not going anywhere. Yeah. So any questions?
Sorry. Thank you for the presentation. Any questions?
Yeah, sorry. This mic is a little hot. Can you turn it down? On the projected 3.5 million in shortfall, as you're going through it, are we anticipating that that's going to get closer to balanced? And what is your plan? What do you need from us on that? I'm a little concerned that we've got that big of a deficit going in.
Yes, sir. No, I can hear that 100%. I can continue to fine tune. It would mean looking at and chopping in areas where we don't feel are priorities. And so that's going to be the big question is what are not priorities that can come out of this budget? I would also like to encourage and have all of us remember that our fund balance currently right now can handle even the deficit that's being presented. I know that we don't necessarily like that. That's not our goal. I understand that. But there was a large recommendation from myself that we put staff on the ground, and we did that. This board did that. And so right now, we're looking at what could be culled out of the budget, what could be trimmed, how do we trim the fat? But standing here, I don't know that I can't tell you standing here I can get us to truly 100% balanced without doing some massive cuts from some things that budget managers tell us they're needing.
So go back to last year, we had did we have a deficit last year? I'm trying to remember.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
I think maybe it was a year before that. At one point, since I've been on the board, we had a deficit, but we actually came in under budget by the time the year was ending. How much cushion do you think there's in this budget?
That's a good question. I think right now, looking at where we're at, it is a possibility to run a not deficit budget. To present and have you approve a positive budget, I don't know that that's going to happen. However, what I can tell you is we historically outperform our revenues, meaning what is predicted on the revenue side. We're usually somewhere to 1 million to 2 million more in revenue. So there's that. Okay, so we can call that maybe some cushion that could come in. The other piece is we also project worst case scenario, right? I project fully staffed at 10 to 15 years of experience. We don't hire everybody at 10 to 15 years of experience. All new hires, I project that we're gonna have to offset their insurance, right? They're all gonna take our insurance, so I'm projecting for that. I'm projecting that every staff member gets the in-district stipend or contracted staff member. I'm projecting that everybody gets a master's stipend. So, I mean, I'm going to tell you, we're probably, I could say comfortably, we've got about a $1.6 to $2 million cushion. And I say cushion, it's projected for worst case scenario if everything is staffed all the time at the maximum experience level and they take all of our benefits that we offer.
So we're under projecting revenue, we're over projecting expenses.
Correct.
Because that's the most conservative way to make sure at the end, we're okay.
Yes.
And anytime we project a balanced budget, we will always end up with a positive budget. The question will be, will it be enough for this swing or not? Because this is the biggest deficit budget we have proposed in a while. But we talked about that as we hired positions and we looked, and part of that was with last year us outperforming by a considerable amount, we know we put more money into our fund balance. We knew we had some cushion there over what we saved last year that we could afford to put boots on the ground and do the things that our people were asking for this year. So we were definitely more aggressive this year. I mean, even in our conversations, when we talked about that $12 million of extra funds in the past, I did my best to limit you to about 80% of that or less. And this year we spent that projected revenue on new positions.
And, you know, my question is when we put on new staff, it's not like they go away the next year. They're still here. And there's always a request for more. But, you know, we can only use, you know, dip into those reserves for a short period of time. And I don't want to get us confident that that money's always going to be available, and as much as possible to try and keep that also conservative. And I expressed some of those concerns on some of our new hire ideas.
No, agreed.
And so, and this is where it plays out is there enough? And, you know, I just want to be very cautious in there and would like for you to look at, you know, what are some options for us? And I understand this is at the starting. We don't have teachers in every position, dean of students in every position immediately, and that affects the number. I get that. But next year, we will have those positions filled, and then we're going to be in that problem of saying, okay, how do we cut? So that's my concern.
And just to remember, with the growth that we are still projection in student enrollments, you know, we will have more students enrolled, which will produce more money. We will not be this aggressive 2 years in a row should we end in a deficit budget. But I believe we will not. I believe we will be a balanced budget when it's all said and done for the school year.
When will we know the finalized home values?
So July 25th is the date. So even when I do this presentation, I won't have certified values. July 25th is our date for that. And then once I get that, I'll start working with Collin County to get all of our notices out for our August, what would be our budget meeting, our tax rate setting, all of that. We will get all that done for August.
So you mentioned that we had a 4.59% increase. Is that in new home construction or existing home values going up?
So it's actually existing went down 6%, new homes went up 11. So it's a one went down, one went up, which put us at the 4.5.
And when you had the, I think it was 21% here last year, was that existing or new? Do you remember what those?
If I remember right, they were both growth. Neither one were negative at the time. They were both a positive.
So we're seeing our housing values level off, and we're still seeing growth, but with housing values leveling off or even dropping is what happened. That's affecting that growth number, which obviously, building new schools and funding all that is gonna get tighter and tighter as we get closer to that. I'm gonna say the apex of our growth, and, I know we're concerned about that, and we wanna make sure we watch that, but let's not get in a staff too heavy issue, being that's the biggest.
And with our M&O side, which is where we pay for staff, being funded primarily off of student enrollment, we're fine. That's not the side that we have the concerns on. Our concerns really where we're going to have to tighten our belt and work hard is on the INS side, where we are based totally on property tax to build new schools and pay the bond. So that's the bonding capacity will be the biggest constraint that we run into as we're approaching this apex, to use your term, of growth, because our student growth is still going to take care of us on the M&O side. We're fine over there. We do have to severely watch what's happened on the INS side, because, we're predicting this year that we're going to be able to sell considerably less at the August bond sale than we thought we were going to, based on the change in the property tax values.
Do we have a number yet that you can make public as far as what we're anticipating our bond capacity to be?
No.
I don't have anything official.
When I was looking at your presentation, I roughly, as I was looking at it, I thought I didn't see much. I mean, was it 35 million or something like that? It was a low number, capacity, which isn't gonna be enough to build to fund what we got going.
Right.
Yeah,
We rough numbers, we were expecting to sell between 100 and 120 this year. I think best case scenario we hit, even with our dedication of funds from 199, is going to be about 70.
That would be best case.
Thank you, Nicole.
One of the reasons I'm not terribly concerned is because in the past, you've come to us at this time with a deficit budget, and we always seem to wind up with a positive or balanced budget. So I guess I assume that because of the safeguards we put in our budget, that's kind of what I expect. And that's what I hear you say is probably what's going to be happening. So I trust our process, and I trust that you're doing a great job and that it's going to work out like it has in the past.
Thank you. And our budget managers in this district work very hard to not go over budget, to not even spend every dollar they're given, to think whole district. How do we help everybody? So I do have to give them props on that. So I appreciate what they do there, and I appreciate that. But yes, that is our anticipation, is to run a balanced or even a positive budget if at all possible.
But at the same time, it is absolutely imperative that we meet the needs of our children.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's just the number one priority. We have to do it. And I think some of the things we've added to the budget are going to make a huge difference in our school district next year.
Ms. Powell, would you be able to share this presentation with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. There were just some things in there that we went through that I was like, that's good, and I know I'll be looking for that at the next meeting, so thank you.
And do remember you have that separate budget meeting in your package as well that has that information in there as well. But I know this is a little bit easier to read. I understand.
Understood. Yes, ma'am. Anything else?
No more questions? Thank you, Ms. Powell.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll move on to item number 8, policy update 127.
So in your packet, you received a copy of the explanatory notes and the comparison chart to show you the changes in the local policies that we are recommending based on recommendations from TASB. And so not a whole lot of groundbreaking things in there, just some little changes here and there and some wording. DP local was completely taken out, but it was replaced with a DPA and a DPB, which one has the principal qualifications, one has the counseling qualifications, and they're exactly the same after you do that. Any other questions that you have, I will try to answer based on what you saw.
Any questions, concerns?
Just thank you to the board members that called and asked about some of those earlier after receiving your packet. Appreciate that.
I'll entertain a motion.
I recommend that we adopt as presented.
Motion from Ms. Darling,
I'll second.
second from Mr. Kelly. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to item number 9, textbook adoptions.
So as we always do for this school year, the items that were up for adoption is personal financial literacy, AP Human Geography, financial math, and Spanish. So in your packet there, we've given you the products that we recommend adopting for our textbook. Our curriculum department met and had brought in teachers committee to review all those materials, and then these are the recommendations from the people in those committees.
One question on the Spanish piece, is that going to possibly change if we change how we're addressing the dual language or anything?
No,
like that?
because this is high school Spanish, not bilingual at elementaries.
I'll make a motion to adopt as presented.
Got a motion from Ms. Sharp, second.
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Ledesma. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Move to item number 10, lift grant update and additional curriculum positions.
Good evening, board members. I'd like to share our collaborative work with Region 10 on the LIFT grant, which stands for Leadership and Instructional Foundations for Texas. This partnership provides support to us to grow ourselves as leaders, as well as our school leaders. Specifically, the grant provides proven resources in reading to reinforce essential literacy skills and in math to strengthen problem solving. We call these resources research-based instructional strategies. While the program's initial focus is on these 2 subjects, our curriculum and instruction department is taking the lead to apply these same high standards to science and social studies. The LIFT framework planning year will guide us to select and implement high-quality instructional materials supported by coaching for our principals, assistant principals, and instructional coaches through Region 10, while using data tools to measure and support teacher growth. These tools will connect to supporting our teachers so that each one, whether they are new to the profession or experienced, feels valued for the work that they do. At the beginning of June, we spent 2 days with our principals, assistant principals, and instructional coaches to launch this work. Day 1 was building instructional leaders with a deeper understanding of observation and feedback and how to support teachers through planning. Day 2 was spent understanding the support that Region 10 will provide and diving into the research-based instructional strategies for reading. This school year serves as our planning year. We made a 1-year commitment. The time where we are intentionally reviewing and selecting instructional materials with committees and building curriculum for kindergarten through our seniors in high school. Ready for a district rollout the following year. We'll be constructing a solid foundation this year so that our administrators and teachers are set up for success as we continue to grow into a large school district. Thank you.
Who's involved in those committees, real quick? And you said the committees that choose all that, who's involved in those?
When we do selection of instructional materials, it'll be all of our stakeholders, from principals, assistant principals, teachers in the classroom, instructional coaches, come one, come all. All voices are going to be important and are important when looking at all different instructional materials that can be utilized.
I'm excited that we're placing that emphasis. We just got back from a school board training, and I went to 3 select classes that talked about reading specifically. And the main thing they said is get off the computers and get back to paper and pen. How much of this is a computer program?
We haven't begun reviewing the instructional materials. We just started the very beginning with making sure that we're setting our administrators up for success and our instructional coaches to be sure that they're supported when the school year starts. So we haven't begun looking at all the different resources that are available for us to look through. That process hasn't started yet.
Okay, that's my concern. I really feel like we need to do more paper and pencil, and you and I've had that conversation before, but it was just verified by very documented people that were speaking to us. So I just wanted to kind of ask that if you had any idea. Thank you.
Not yet.
More questions, concerns?
If I'm reading this right, is this no action, you're just alerting us to this, and then?
For that part, but then we are requesting an additional position. We would like to use a portion of our LIFT funds to fund a full-time curriculum director's position to help do some of the heavy lifting here. I apologize that I didn't get this in your packet, but in front of you, just so you can kind of see over, is a preliminary rundown of the job duties that we would be shifting off of our current curriculum individuals, Holly, Rachel, and some of the instructional coaches, over to this individual so that we can have a higher focus on the design, development, and use of the curriculum products in the classroom.
And this is based off funds we've already received from this grant, correct?
Correct.
So we will be covered for this upcoming school year, but future school years would be on us.
Correct. And so we will evaluate at the end of the year, and if the position has shown worth and we can still afford to do it, then we'll continue to move forward. If there's any issues that we didn't see what we needed, or we have any issues, then we'll have to reevaluate at that point in time.
Did Ms. Powell already add this into the numbers
Well, it's a zero add because we've talked about that.
for this school year?
Correct, for
Okay.
this school year. Correct.
Can I ask if we anticipate, if it works out well and everything's going great for the next school year, if we,
I do not anticipate one salary would break the bank, no.
Well, I think this is would be very valuable for our district, this position. I've had the privilege of working with some other director of curriculum, so I'm really excited that we're considering this. And I know it's a lot of work that goes into picking out curriculum. So to have someone dedicated to that would be amazing. And I know it'd be supportive to you guys that you guys do so much already also.
Any more concerns, questions?
I just need a little bit more time to read through this.
We would really like one because we would like to get this person interviewed and hired and brought back to the July board meeting so that we can get them on board and ready to move forward. Anytime after that, it would be really difficult to find a quality person after that. So, correct.
Do you think this person will help us make a real difference in our reading scores in the future?
I believe that this position is going to help us across the board, not just specifically for reading, but for all subjects with the way that we're carrying out, taking what we've are learning with our partnership with Region 10 and not just applying it for reading, but also math. And then we're taking it a step further to take what we've learned and apply it to also science and social studies.
That's great. she's
So,
gonna do it
yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the additional curriculum position.
Got a motion from Ms. Sharp.
I would second that motion.
Got a second from Ms. Darling. Discussion?
Yes, further discussion. So, and the daily duties that are listed here, who's doing this now? And what's happening in this? I'm guessing this is something we're trying to do now and it's not getting done? Is that, and then who would be overseeing this person?
So currently, these job duties are being handled by Holly, Rachel, instructional coaches, and some of our curriculum coordinators that we have currently. They have been handling that, and even some of the principals handling, when you look at some of the PLC meetings and some of the things, ensuring that those meetings are actually being done. Our principals are picking up some of those. So this is just somebody that this is their number one thing. Right now, this is, I do this and this would take this off and make this somebody's thing. This is their thing that they do and not their and that they do on top of everything else.
So how would you evaluate that this is working or being successful? What are the metrics that you would see that would say, hey, this was a good move for us?
Hoping that we'll see responses from our teachers, that they are getting more support on curriculum design and development and not feeling like they're not receiving all of the help they need. So from feedback from our teachers, from our principals, that we're seeing that, which then should relate to increased scores on MAP and STAR over time.
I would also add that in our observation and feedback cycles, we want to make sure that we're giving meaningful feedback to our teachers. So whether it's a first-year teacher that requires some additional time, that we are able to support them and use our mentoring program, as well as our veteran teachers and the experience, because even great teachers want to get better. And so we can be even more intentional with the work that we're doing and tweak what we've done this past year to make it better.
So isn't that some of the instructional coaches' responsibility? Is that not a thing anymore, or is what?
It is. We do that too. So I will take this past year. I had the privilege, Miss Darlin walked with me on a campus. We walked in one of our math classrooms and was able to walk with the coach, and she asked us about curriculum, and she asked us about observations. She asked us about how we were giving feedback to our teachers. She asked us what the work that the students were doing in the classroom. And the size of our district is growing. And so we want to make sure that we're intentional to do each part of our role and our responsibilities. And our plate is full, and that's why we're asking for help. And this is a great use of the funds that we've been given to be even more intentional in supporting our campus administrators and supporting our teachers so that the outcome benefits our students.
All right, got a motion, I got a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. On item number 11, this district goal evaluation.
So this is an opportunity for the board to look back over what we did in the 25-26 school year, to look at the goals that you've set forward as a district, and to determine, do you think we have done well? Do you think there's any goals that we've accomplished that we need to remove from the list? And what things do we need to continue to focus on? I know a few months ago we adopted next year's goals. That was the process we did a while back, but now that the year is done, we are trying to just have a moment of reflection on where you think we've accomplished what you've wanted us to do, where you think we need to continue to put work. And, you know, as a board member and as a board united, how have we done on supporting the needs of the campuses in the district to reach those goals.
Well, one of the first ones was improved student performance on assessments, 10% growth in reading and 5% growth in all other subjects. You know, just looking at this map results, I think that there's definite improvement there, you know, from a neutral number in 2024 on math to 13% improvement of all grades that are measured with the map is pretty substantial. I definitely exciting to see those kind of numbers coming through, and it's easy to read at a glance. I like that. And then on the reading, it looked like we went from +5 improvement to a +6, so we still improved over what we had the prior year. You know, certainly the math grew, but not as much as the reading is what we wanted to focus on to get more there, but I think we're heading in the right way, so I'd like to see that.
And I also think it's a big focus if you look at the kindergarten results, for example, with the big push, you know, that the board asked us to look at what we were doing in early childhood, the big change in the phonics curriculum and some of the things we were doing down there, and then seeing some really good gains from last year of a drop of -2 to this year of a +2, or +12, sorry. You know, that was a big change there, so hopefully we can see that continue to pay off. And, you know, even through first grade, you saw the same kind of thing, so still a +9, so.
We're definitely moving in the right direction.
Agreed.
Great. I'd like to keep it there. I'm glad that we left that on, the district goals for next year, but I am proud of the improvement as well. Dwayne took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking about the growth that we had. I know we said our aim was 10% growth in reading. I mean, we didn't put it on a specific test that we would assess based off of this, but to see the improvement, this makes me feel good. Definitely going in the right direction.
Any more concerns? No, we don't think we need action here.
What have been some of the ways that, what kind of services or programs
Mental.
that have been, am I on?
Yeah.
You're muted. I'd heard enough. You hadn't said anything tonight. Sorry.
Hey now, what kind of programs and services have been implemented to help relieve stress among staff? Just for, you know, staff that are overwhelmed, maybe possibly going through a little bit of burnout. I'd like to kind of know what we're doing, or if you need something.
Wendy, how are you tonight? Good to see you.
Hopefully we didn't have.
Favorite thing to do. So one of the big things that we've put into place with help of the SHAC and the HR department was our EAP, and making it widely known across the district, and we're still working towards that. But an EAP is an employee assistance program, and it allows me, in my position, I really do interact with a lot of adults now, more than children, but able to point them in a direction that is no cost to them. It is limited to a certain number of sessions based on the need, but then they can refer out as well. There is an employee wellness list that I put out through communications, and every time we get paid, it goes out as well. So just updating, keeping that updated. It ranges all the way from books, novels, podcast, some self-help things also, and touches on insurance and what our insurance pays for, as well as the EAP. But that EAP has really helped. I've been able to guide several people to that, and they've found it useful. So
DAP, LPC,
I'm sorry?
the DAEP, LPC we added to.
Yes, and that's for students.
Well, this is for staff, students, parents.
Yes. So definitely there's now a dedicated DAEP. How many letters can I string together? DAEP, LPC, or licensed professional counselor. So that's been a huge support. And it frees up the other two LPCs that have caseloads across the district, but because they were trying to run groups weekly at DAP, but now there's a dedicated person, and we've implemented several programs like on vaping and things like that, that she's bringing in speakers and just giving those students a different viewpoint, a different way of thinking. She's running groups as well as doing individual. She's certified in, and it just left me, my brain. She is certified in EDMI therapy, which goes pretty intense for certain levels of trauma, those kinds of things that we're seeing amongst several students that are in those place settings.
And then we also added the counseling at the high school, at the secondary campuses, where the counselors are meeting them over the
T-Chat.
Thank you, T-Chat.
So T-Chat is a district-wide initiative now, and had really good success. We've had about 130, I was just looking at that today, about 130 students that were referred through their campus counselor to T-Chat, which is, it started during COVID, but it's no cost to the district, no cost to families, and it provides 4 to 6 counseling sessions. It's teletherapy, but it allows someone, we try to pull them out of specials, out of elective classes, so they're not missing core classes, but it allows that student to meet with a therapist for a certain number of sessions, 4 to 6 usually, and not have to have a parent come and check them out of school and take them somewhere and fight the battle of trying to, So certain parents have definitely found that to be effective use of a student's time during the school day.
And are any of those groups, or is the LPC, does the LPC do any groups or of any kind for any of our staff? Not just for the students, but just...
That's Wendy.
That's me.
She's amazing.
Okay.
So, not that I do groups. There's a hesitation. I've thrown that idea out with the LPCs. We have discussion. When you run a group, you are talking about very, very deep personal things. Mm-hmm. And there is some hesitation to talk to district people about your deep internal struggles. If you see what I mean. Like,
no, and I understand. Yes, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I've encountered some staff that we're struggling with suicidal ideation, mm-hmm. and have stepped in and provided resources and tailored resource lists for them and that kind of thing. So really, when a principal or a director or someone else sees someone struggling, they usually kind of introduce me to that person, and then I walk them through. Not that I am a school counselor, that's how I'm licensed. And so I don't have the ability to do ongoing therapy, but I can definitely, be the bridge.
You have the ability, you don't have the certification.
So, yes.
I guess, and I think that that's amazing, and I'm glad to hear that's available. I guess what I'm trying to get to and think of is there anything for any staff, let's just say if they have, for example, when someone has to report, to CPS, that's very stressful, that's very trying on someone.
Yep, can be, absolutely.
Just for anything like that, for any staff, just to kind of check in, or just
and usually
for someone
counselors,
to talk to.
campus counselors are very, very good about walking, especially this sounds strange, but a lot of elementary teachers are much more well-versed in reporting CPS than are secondary. Secondary teachers tend not to see as much. The students maybe stay, have a different way of keeping things to themselves or hiding things, or and so, but definitely all counselors walk beside those teachers and say, I can't report for you, but I can sit with you and show you, guide you, and then, wrapping back around and saying, are you okay? Was there anything? Our campus counselors really fill that role, and if there's ever an extra need, then that's when they start. Like, Wendy, I'm really worried. This is what they told me, or can you come by and maybe we visit together? That happens quite a bit.
To Ms. Bianca's point, is there anything such as like a peer support group that would help among campuses someone who's already done some of those things that maybe help, that they don't know somebody who has, maybe leaders among teachers that might have those peer support groups, or is that something that might be out of the realm of?
Nothing's out of the realm, right? It's just how in our society, we're getting better, but definitely among adults, there's a stigma amongst mental health.
Right.
And you have to really build that trust with someone, because I've spoken with some teachers. Their fear is, what if somebody finds out that I'm struggling to this degree? How is that going to impact my job? How are other teachers going to see me? There's just that fear, for lack of a better word.
But that's where the EAP comes in place,
Yes.
where we can place them
Yes.
with off-site resources,
Yes.
where they can have the level
EAP
of.
funding come from?
I don't know.
Is that part of our insurance?
Yeah,
It is part of the insurance.
It's one of the benefits we get for the other things that we purchase through our.
So
So
it
if-
is no cost to the
Right.
staff
But
member
it's-
that's utilizing that.
If you opt out of the insurance, are you?
No, it's my understanding all district personnel are covered, as well
Okay.
as their family members covered up to the age of 26. So I've even, if someone has a student that's graduated, right, or a college-age student that's struggling, I can say, they have support as well. So, and it's not just mental health, it's a slew of services, like if you've got legal questions or things like that, they can point you in the right direction. So it's really a broad range of support there.
I remember
So
we
would
looked at that at the beginning of the year, and it was very, very, very good.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have that for staff.
So would it be frowned upon for any teachers that are maybe watching and listening, for anyone to say, if they wanted to within their own campus, they start their own type of peer support group or
Absolutely
something?
not. I mean, we can
Is that something that
definitely.
they would need to come to you and discuss that with you?
I
or-
think they would start with their principal. Principal, would definitely come alongside and support. I can, have someone, I can be there to support if they want me there, if they want me to step out, or, if they need some guidance, I can have the LPCs for the district support. And how do you run a group, right? It's an uncomfortable thing if you've not done it before.
Well, sometimes you just need to vent, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes, and that's yes and no. Yes and no.
Yeah.
A peer support group is really there to move people in a positive direction. I would not want it just to become
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that's the fear. Without somebody trained
Correct.
to keep the group on track and to keep it moving in the right direction, that would be my concern.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you for
Of
everything
course.
that you do.
of
So-
course.
I think so. I know DPD has a peer support group that I've never really been involved with it, but I've heard good things from it. And it's not to remove the professional aspect of what's needed, but it's maybe something that's in added value to it. And I agree. That stigma for some of those, some people would not go to another office or another.
And definitely, we want to make as many available opportunities as possible. So if that's something, I can definitely have the shack start looking into that. We always need, a direction for the new year. So that might be a good thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. We as a board have put an extremely high priority on discipline, knowing that discipline problems in the classroom cut about 60% of learning. And we've instructed the principals and the administrators to effectively be consistent, hold people accountable, and help them change behavior. How are we doing on that, principals? Yeah, I'm looking at you, Mr. Boring.
Being that, you have like one of the best campuses, No pressure.
No pressure.
No, it's all good. I'm happy to speak on it. I think it takes every single one of us. I'm more of the one that's proactive. So we set the groundwork early. We meet, we have student class meetings. We set our expectations. We make it known. We revisit those. We're intentional about it. Everything from wearing an ID in the hallway to dress code. I think it's something, if you just let slip at any moment, it will crash. So setting the expectations early, being intentional throughout the year, and having really the staff with the same mindset and buy-in, that's how you attack discipline. So is it easy? No. I think every principal in here have moments where we look as like, oh my goodness, this happened today. I can't believe this happened. But you just have to persevere through that. You're going to have moments where you see an influx in discipline, and certain times of the year, kids get a little wild, especially juniors and seniors, if you can imagine that. But just being intentional and having that staff with the same mindset and setting that example is, I think, key to having a culture and climate that we all strive for.
I know you do an excellent job, and I'm hoping that the Dean of Students edition and also the extra security edition is going to help a lot. Is there anything else that you can think of that you need from us?
I think when you think of, I kind of separate needs and wants. I have everything. If I need something, I go to that gentleman right there. I don't try not to go often, but if I need something, I go to him. Now, are there wants? Yeah, there's a long list of wants. But we have everything I need that I feel like we need as a campus to attack discipline.
Awesome. Let's do it then.
Yes.
Keep on doing it.
I try.
Keep on doing it.
Yes, we try.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Boyd.
I do have another question. For the first Panther and then the first Paul, the improved student performance on assessments, first of all, the growth is awesome to look out for the MAP scores. It says 10% growth in reading and 5% growth in all subjects. So were we referring, I wasn't here when we did that one, but are we referring to the percentile of MAP? Is that always our goal? Or were we referring then to STAR scores?
At the point in the time that was added, all we had was STAR scores. MAP have been added since that was originally placed on there.
Okay, so then moving forward, and I know we did them recently, we are going to, when we talk about that growth, it'll be based off percentile, correct?
Yes.
Yes, board, yeah, okay.
Explain what you're saying in layman's terms for me.
What I just
thanks.
want to make sure is that when we're looking for the 10% growth and the 5% growth and all, I want to always make sure we're talking about the same assessment each time. I don't want to find a 10% here and a 5% there and say we're doing great. I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page as what assessment are we looking at, and which growth are we looking at? Because growth can happen in different subjects. It can happen from like our students going from red to orange, so we can find a 10%. I just want to make sure it is the percentile we're talking about.
That's what I was asking as well, Sonia. In regards to that, when we initially set this, to Mac's point, we only had STAR testing. We didn't have MAP at the time. Now that we have it, I think we changed this number on here because it wasn't realistic. If I'm not mistaken, we changed it for the,
We did not change it. I requested it be changed, but the board did not change it.
to be specific with the test or just the numbers?
Both. And we said that while we were waiting for MAP's test to come in, we were going to leave it, see what we got on actual marked growth this year, and then if we need to make any adjustments to that, we would. But without data on how we were doing, it's hard to set a goal with that. We didn't know what that was going to look like. And so now we've had 2 years of seeing those results from last year and this year. I think you've got enough data now to look at that and assess that. And
So that
I
needs to
think it's,
be
and I think looking at the percentile growth, you know, and what we've accomplished this year, especially if you look at the math test there, and you look at that, you see, you know, we've got close to a 10% all the way across the board. There was only 2 grade levels that didn't have at least a 10 percentile point growth from the beginning of the year to the end, you know. So that number is more realistic when we're talking these percentile growths, it appears, based on what we saw this year. Now, in reading, we didn't see quite that across the board. It was pretty close. The lower grades seemed to be better, but we all know as reading, it's compounds on itself. And so the kids that are in 4th and 5th grade, if they were behind, it's harder to pick that up in a year's time versus with a kindergartner or a 1st grader or 2nd grader. They're just learning to read. And so making a change in what we're doing sees an impact and a change on those grade levels quicker than what you're going to see at the upper grade levels. So, but it still looks like if you look at K1, 2, 3, we saw close to a 10% or 10 percentile jump in all those reading scores.
So do we want to talk about what that could be now? Like, could we keep the 10% in reading for, as what we want us to aspire to for a MAP?
Being we're looking at last year's goals, do we have this year's? I think it says the same thing.
That's what I was asking, because what he just said was that we didn't say if it was just gonna be focused on STAR, if it's just focused on MAP, or
I
what
don't think
testing is focused on.
it doesn't state either one. But we can assess it with one as we can, like you, to your point, as we continue.
Amy, do we have a
with
copy
one.
of those new ones?
Yeah, so we know, yeah. Yeah, but we don't need to change it.
The
'cause it
challenge we
doesn't
have
say.
here is that we're
Copy of
not,
next year's goals.
not all of our testing is in MAP, only part of it is. Right? Because we're only testing to 5th grade. And so in order to get a true number, we either need to move to MAP, which we've had that discussion, you know, completely. But I realize that the state's coming out with their own thing. But I suspect when we see the STAR, it's not gonna be as clear as this. And it's gonna be a little tougher to evaluate and probably won't look as, I believe the teachers are doing good because I can see it. But what is that gonna look like when we look at the STAR results, which will be delayed and not timely appropriate? We already know that. I've complained about that every year on the board. So.
But since-
I'm hoping that the new evaluation process for us from the state will actually be a good tool for us to use for this particular thing.
Hope so, yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
So since 6 through and up, it's not gonna be MAP testing. I don't think we need to be specific. We just know what we're looking at specifically per grade level. And that's what we're looking at for our growth. That's how I perceived it as.
I think right now MAP is probably the best one to use.
But we only have that for this grade level.
Right. So,
But they said that it may be used for upper grades, but I don't know that that has changed or
well, I
direction.
wanted to do MAP in middle school too, but we decided to wait for what the assessment's going to be for Texas.
Correct. Does that answer your question?
It does answer my question. I think I just still have the same concern. If I'm evaluating myself, I want to make sure that or we're evaluating ourselves, I want to make sure that we all understand what we're evaluating ourselves on, and it's the same data each time, so we can fairly assess us as trustees. Does that make sense? I know we probably don't have all of it, right? Like, I know we have MAP only to 5th grade. So that's just a 5th grade, so what about, so it's not, I can't sit here and say, oh, which, don't get me wrong, this is amazing. I don't want to make this any smaller than it is. Growth is amazing, but then what about past 5th grade? We can't.
We're going to have to rely on STAR scores and our unit tests that we're taking right now, our 9 weeks test. That's the data we have to look at for that information at this point in time. With the state's change of assessments coming forward, especially since we see them leaning towards something very similar to MAP, we may see a change there that gives us very similar information for those upper grade levels as what we're getting from MAP now.
So would we move the evaluation, our board evaluation at a different time when we have all of the information to give ourselves a fair evaluation? Wouldn't that make more sense?
Can I ask a quick question, just to make sure we're all on the same page? This bullet was supposed to be on district goals, right? We haven't gotten to the parameters for, like, us as a board being evaluated. So we're just supposed to be talking about the goals that we've set forth,
Correct.
right? Okay, so understanding that now, if we're looking at what we have as the district goals, to Sonia's point, she was saying that we said we wanted to see 10% growth in reading and a 5% growth in all other subjects. What she was asking was the same thing that I was asking as well, which is, what are we gonna say, to Mac's point, that's going to be against? 10% in reading according to what? MAP testing, or according to STAR for grade 6 until 12? That's what we're looking for, I think, now, because we didn't set that the last go-around because we didn't have the scoring.
Well, in our interpretation, Holly and Rachel, you chime in if you disagree with me, we believe that what we were going to be looking at is MAP scores for elementary, and we were going to be looking at STAR and unit tests for upper grade levels. Why? Because that's what we have. That's our best indicators.
Okay.
And I believe the 10% for a 10 percentile growth in subjects on MAP is very reachable, very reasonable, and what we should be striving for. Do I believe it is in STAR? No, I still believe that that goal is too high. But there's nothing wrong with having a goal that's high, but we probably will not see that same 10% increase from year to year in STARs. It just is very rare to see that.
And we review this every year.
Correct.
So if we need to adjust it next year, we have the ability to do that. But are we all okay with continuing with the?
That was my understanding too, that we were using MAP and then STAR.
Okay.
That's what we have to
That's
look at.
fine, yeah. I think for me, when I would like it to be more specific. It's just really vague. So me reading this, and I think to the general public, when you see that, it's like, okay, so what does that mean? But if it's just us understanding that, then yes, that bullet point, that Paul makes sense.
And I think it's some of those testing changes, that's where we wanted to still capture it right. Because if it changes in the year that it changes, we may not see that growth. Or we may see that growth, who knows, but it's gonna be a completely different.
And just remember, the general goal is the Paul Prince. The dot is just clarification on kind of what we were looking for that to be. So the published goals on the back of the room, Paul Prince is as detailed as we get on our general goals to most people. We want to see improved student performance on assessments, and that should be on all assessments. We want to see improved ACT scores. We want to see improved SAT scores. We want to see all of those things going up with our kids. We want more kids being CCMR ready because they're passing their TSI test, right? Holly, look, I'm getting a big smile over there because I'm getting this one right. Okay? So, in general, it's all things, but our focus primarily at the moment had been how are we going to improve elementary reading and math scores, because that's where we were the farthest behind.
And one more point I want to bring up is, part of this was tied to Mac's evaluation. We had some numbers that we gave him, and they reflected that number on here. And so we were trying to give him a goal to go for. So when we evaluate, we can look at that also. And I know we're going to be talking to, that's another bullet point coming up, but that was part of it too.
I appreciate y'all letting me know. Just remember, I wasn't here for this, okay? So thank you.
Okay. So we don't need any action on this item. It was really just a moment of self-reflection and conversation.
May I ask one more question? Jackie, how are we doing on recruiting, challenging, developing, and retaining qualified, experienced, productive staff? I've noticed that we have a lot more certified people. I wanted to thank you for that. And could you just speak to that for a second? I'm not sure I can.
What was it?
One of our goals is to recruit, challenge, develop, and retain qualified, experienced, and productive staff. And that was one of the goals that we gave to you,
Right.
particularly, and asked you to really try to get more certified teachers, more people that are experienced teachers in the classroom that are going to be able to step in day one and teach. How are we doing on that? I perceive that we're doing much better.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to hear your take on it.
Yeah, our principals have been working really hard seeking out those that are certified first, as opposed to the DOIs that we're having to do. We are having to do some of those. We went to more job fairs this year than we've ever gone to before. I don't say that those job fairs are as beneficial as I'd like for them to be, because we're not getting as far as we go, and we've tried to expand out. They're not coming here as much, but we've expanded to different groups, such as we're on LinkedIn, we're on Indeed, we're on the Texas Workforce. We have a lot of those coming in. LinkedIn has done a really big deal for us, and so a lot of them that are coming from Indeed and LinkedIn. And so, but our principals are being very mindful about that. They are going in and they are doing all of the background work, trying to find out who they are and what their certification is, and then I'm working with them to go through what their certification process is. And right now, I would say we're probably beginning to, as we get closer to the end of the hiring season, so right now we're beginning to look at a little more with DOI, some of those coming in, as we're going to have to. So,
How
but,
short are we?
But it's been better. It's been better than it's ever been.
I noticed there was a lot of certified.
Yes, yes,
I just
yes.
wanted to say thank you for that. Thank you
Yes.
all for that, because that does take a lot of work.
Yeah, and we're attracting a lot more people, I think, in our district. As our district is growing, the word's getting out a lot. All the people are coming in from different areas, and so I think we're able to attract a lot more than we used to as a smaller rural type district, now that we're a growing district. So we're attracting a lot more as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything else? Anybody else, anything else on that? We'll move on to item 12, discuss parameters for superintendent evaluation.
So Starla asked for this to be on here, and I really greatly appreciate it. Mid-year evaluation for me is coming up in August. And so just prior to that, wanted to have some conversation about, we don't have a formal document. Last year was a little wishy-washy, if I can use that word, on what information was expected of me and what things was going to be discussed. So just giving us a chance to have a conversation about what that wants to look like this year, so that we can have a more productive and meaningful time. Starla?
Thank you. And you kind of hit the nail right on the head. I did want us to consider what the parameters were that we were going to be evaluating this year, since we agreed that we were going to give a mid-year review, and then that we're going to have basically an annual review in addition to that. The mid-year review, I think we settled on being a formative mid-year review, right? What are we going to be asking him for and evaluating him on mid-year? I have a list of things that I've put together, but I wanted to see what you guys' thoughts were on it. I can kind of give you guys top level of what I had, which was student achievement and academic progress. And it just kind of focuses on the 10% and the 5% that we had, something like that, to see where are we as opposed to that, where that number is, how he's doing there, or how the school is doing, because ultimately, like, We look at him, he's our only employee. Strategic leadership and goal progress was another topic I had on there. Communication and board relations. How is he communicating with us? Are we feeling like we're up to date and up to speed on things as they're happening? His personnel leadership, retention, and organizational culture was another item. And then the last two were personnel decision-making and board awareness, and then financial and operational stewardship were the items that I had. Those were the top items that I got based off of what I learned at our training last week with some of the evaluations that they're doing. I also learned that TASB has some trainings that they do as well as Lone Star Governance that focuses on superintendent evaluations, as well as if you're going to do a mid-year evaluation. These were some things that were suggested to me from that. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that.
Did you look at what we did what we've done last couple of years? Because you've been here 2 years. It was it drastically different, and was it drastically different than that? Because can we get that, and so we can?
Yeah.
'Cause it'd
I
be
can
nice
see,
to see it
I can
today.
send you guys what I have, or send it to Mac to share with you guys.
Let's,
But it is, to your point, is drastically different because it didn't exist. We've never actually had a mid-year review for him
Right,
with
yeah.
actual content in it.
Like
This
us.
is like his annual review.
yeah.
So this is a shortened version of the annual review.
I like it. Yeah, and then we can revisit it as an annual to pull it back. Yeah. I'd like to see what it's like and what compared to his annual to see. And also, some of the training, some of those discussions were helpful to possibly give you something that's more concrete and give you the better direction. That way we can have specifics that we can, guide you towards where you can have, rather than just somewhat generic.
I think, I appreciate what you brought, Starwell, and I think that's pretty much what we reviewed them on in general way. The mid-year review needs to reflect what we gave them as goals and not add anything to it, I would say, and, unless there's something as a footnote. But we gave them goals, and so those are what we're reviewing. How are you doing on those goals? And I think you summed those up in what you read there, which falls right in line with the goals we gave you, Mac, unless you've got some other thoughts on that.
So my real question is, what goals are you in reference to, and when did I get given those?
You're asking me when you got your review done?
I'm asking you, when did the board send me a set list of goals that you wanted me to achieve?
When we did your review, we
Last August?
when we did your year-end review.
Back in February is
Okay.
what I think he's referring to.
Yeah.
I struggle with that because to me, a year is the school year.
Yeah.
or calendar year, not.
So that's what I'm trying to get the clarification on. So you're looking at February's end of year and the goals that was set at that time.
Of course, that's what we gave you as a challenge. This is things we wanted to see, wanted done, and those would be the items we would be reviewing you on, not something different that we haven't conveyed to you.
Would it be helpful to have a workshop on this and clarify what we want?
I think it'd be very helpful for us to really look into doing the local governance, because I think with that is going to really help us as a board with setting our district goals, our board policies, helping us with our superintendent evaluations, and all the things that we need to do to be able to make the best decisions as a board.
Like the board evaluation governance, or? Okay.
Yep, it's all in there. Yeah.
I would like us to do a workshop and try to be more clear and more transparent.
Mac, do you need more information than?
That's more something for us, but can you get us like, for the, I don't know how.
The list that Starla read off is exactly what was on, it was all topics we covered when we did
Right.
your February review. So when we did that review, that gave you areas that we wanted to see improvement on, or we wanted to see different direction on, or we wanted more
But
information on. So I don't think any of that's what you're talking about in a mid-year
Yeah.
review. Is how are you doing on those items?
I think what Starla's, correct me if I'm wrong, but we need to get specific on our mid-year review to make sure our end of year is more accurate. But at the same time, I think we may need assistance as a board to make sure we convey the specifics and get some guidance so we're not so, we're a little more specific and give him better direction as to what's expected. Does that make sense? Is that? Okay.
Sometimes it can be clear to us and not be
Clear to
actually
him.
Yeah,
Right. So,
transferred to the other person so they know what we're wanting.
correct.
so all I was asking, or what I was hoping that we were able to do here, is to be able to be clear and concise with what we're asking of him for his mid-year, what we need him, anything that we specifically want to see based off of what we asked for from his review back in February. Let's be concise in that and say, okay, here's a shortened version. We really want to just check in where we are with X, Y, and Z. That way, I feel like it'll be the better use of our time and his with getting the information together for us, so that it's not like he just randomly is pulling things. Because that's what it felt like last year. I know that some of us might have had the thought that we were clear, but I was very confused myself sitting in there as we were giving it to him, like, what is this? It was confusing for me, and I do this regularly, so.
Can you send through Mac?
I sent it to him. I
And
sent the
then-
list to him.
And then we can
Possibly
from
have
there.
a,
comments to that and get that back to who?
And I'll include a copy of the end of the year evaluation, because Dwayne, I would appreciate some clarity in which part of this was goals set for me to do forward. I know there was some directives of things you've asked for in there, things like, the recruitment retention plan and those things which we've already provided to you. So I don't know, I don't see that you gave me a list of objectives or things that you wanted us to do. It was more overall comments on pluses and minuses as an evaluation. So I would need some clarification on that, please.
Send that to me. I'd be glad to just re-review it and put some notes to it.
Perfect.
And
I'll send that to all board members so
Thank
that you
you.
all have the
Yes.
ability
Yeah.
to do that.
yes, thank you.
So when we come back together in July, the goal will be for us to have everything succinct of what we're asking for him. Like, this was what we anticipated was a goal.
So can the board secretary send that out to us and keep in line? So maybe all this needs to run through the board secretary, and then and between that communication, we can get things fine-tuned
Yeah.
Okay.
before July,
Yes.
before July's meeting, so that
Well-
on the meeting in July, we'll be ready.
No, the meeting in
No,
August
the
would be
meeting in
when it'd be
August.
ready.
That's why I was saying we had time. Part of
Carla's
why.
done a good job of asking way in time this year.
Part of why I wanted it at this meeting was so that after we had this discussion, if there was any takeaways, we could discuss whatever we missed in July and be ready to give it to them in August.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Are you okay with that, Bianca?
But where do we land on the training?
That's what I wanted to talk
we're
about.
gonna be-
I think we need a workshop so we can discuss and have someone that is more of an expert in doing this type of evaluation. For me, this is completely new.
So
And I would like for someone to guide us so we can, as a team, decide this is what we want together. I love what you have, so we can all come with our ideas, and then we can make sure these goals are written out, so we're not unsure of what our goals are.
Because
I was under the, I'm kind of equally confused as Dwayne with not having the goals. I think if I wasn't, how do I say this? I would know what my goal is if I was not meeting a certain expectation. So, but it seems like we need to meet as a team so we can make sure that we write those out.
Well, in looking back on our evaluation, to Mac's point, we did not give him any specific goals or expectations. It was more of,
We give direction.
a direction of certain things that we were wanting as a board. And so I feel going into a mid-year review in August, as a board, we're not prepared for that. We're not, because number one, we never gave him any clear expectations and goals for him to accomplish, for us to be able to evaluate on. We did give certain directives and certain things that we wanted to see, but there was not a goal behind that. And I think that, once again, we need some additional training on what we need to be doing for this area.
A specific goal.
Is it a workshop?
So, well, as far as workshop, I think one thing that we've thought about, and we may discuss later, is going to be board evaluations, like self-board evaluations, and some of that workshop might bleed into something, because that is part of our self-evaluation. We need to do better about our superintendent evaluations and how to deal with those. So I think maybe we can make those into one workshop, that way we're not taking up more time of ourselves. Because I think that bleeds in. Couldn't the same person help us on both of those?
More than likely, yes.
Yeah, I would think so.
Does that qualify for our training?
There you go. Possibly.
Well, that's what I think he said earlier. I asked him earlier, and he said that he's going to check in that, see if it would.
That might be good.
I agree.
I'm sorry to disagree with you, Bianca, but I believe that we did give Mr. McIntyre goals and objectives that we want to see. And I think when we go back through that, I'll identify those, and I'll be surprised if you don't agree. But to me, I thought they were pretty succinct, and I didn't think that there was a problem with how we can do that information. But that's part of the mid-year review, to make sure that Mac's on track, and if he didn't quite catch what we were looking for, we can help clarify that.
So am I sending something out? Am I not sending? What are we doing?
I think we need to continue with getting what Starla got and sending that out, but we need to figure out about,
We need the
Getting-
workshop scheduled.
getting a workshop to maybe, we'll get something back from Max, see if it's part of, it can be part of our team in 8, and see if we can do that, and with what.
So you want me to look to see if I can find a trainer to come in and help you develop a board self-evaluation tool and a superintendent evaluation tool?
Yeah, and what those costs, as far as, I think TASB does it in local.
I think with that, they do that all together with all the other stuff that we talked about earlier in one workshop, or like maybe one or two.
Yeah, that's what we're
Yeah.
going to check.
It's not just one specific thing. It's like a whole thing for the board
Well, it's.
of all different areas that they look at.
Yeah, it's, the self-evaluation is one whole thing for, that's what they train us on.
When I went to one of my workshops, they actually gave a whole list of things that TASB would do for us. One of those was to come and train us on these things for free.
They don't do it for, well, TASB won't do it for free.
They told us it was for free. They said it was part of our package as being part of TASB, and it was the higher-ups in TASB that were doing this workshop, so I'd like us to look at that.
TASB sent me a quote on their board self-evaluation tool, and it's $1,100 plus travel expenses.
Wow, I have to look at my notes, and I'll give you the name of the lady that told me it was going to be free.
I went through one of the board evaluation trainings as well as one of the ones for the superintendent, because I knew we had this coming up, and I didn't hear anything that said it was free either.
Yeah, no. This was a specific class on what TASB offered us.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave us all these numbers and all these classes and
So
everything.
send me that name from your notes, Cindy, when you get back, and
I'll give you that. I
will
don't have
look
it
into that.
memorized, but I'll certainly look it up and give it to you.
Perfect.
So, Mr. McIntyre, just for my understanding, when you said that you didn't have goals, are you saying you would like to see a list of specific goals and not just the expectations that we put in your review?
I'm saying that each section on my end of the year, there's a section summary at the end that has a narrative, but I do not personally feel, and maybe I'm lacking understanding, that there is a clear defined objective set out for me on what was expected, with the exception of a few areas where you were very specific, where you asked for curriculum plan, you asked for an HR plan, you asked for some specific plans that we've already produced and presented back to you since that time. Other than that, there's broad comments about strengths and weaknesses. And so if what I've missed is I'm supposed to go through every place that a weaknesses was listed and turn that into my own goal of what I'm supposed to be working on and how that's going to be measured, then that's
You want a
My-
SMART goal? Is that what I'm hearing? A SMART goal?
that would be very helpful. Yes, ma'am.
We can do better.
Interesting.
Agree.
I think that's why, and I think the other one was Lone Star Governance.
Correct.
Tracker was the other one. Those seem to be like well used by the people, by a lot of districts up there. All right, any more discussion? We've got what we need right there. So,
I believe so.
Item number 12, executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, discussion personnel, 551.076, security, and 551.072, purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate property. We'll accept motions to move into executive.
I'll make a motion to enter executive session.
I'll second. Go ahead.
I've got a motion from Ms. Sharp, second from Mr. Kelly. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously.
I would like permission to dismiss staff at this time.
Good night.
Agreed. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate you.
And we're going in at 8:35? What time are we going in?
8:35 p.m.
Nope, here he comes. Hold on.
We got to put that we regain
Ready.
back in executive. There's no.
Huh? Are we live? Oh, Nelson's in there. You're good. Go.
Turn from executive session at
10:01.
10:01. All right, we'll move on to item number 14, consider and take action on any matters addressed in executive session. No matters.
We need no action.
No action at this time. We will adjourn at 10:02.
Good night, everybody.
That's what we said.